So hi everyone. Great, hi everyone and happy Friday. Thanks all for joining us today to learn more about the Chicago market priorities for enterprises 2018 request for letters of interest for the Section 4 program. We have a good team of enterprise folks here today to help provide you the information that you need. As Donna mentioned, my name is Juan Sebastian Arias. I'm a program officer here in the Chicago office. Rosa Ortiz is also here, who's a senior program director for the Chicago office as well. And so is Diane Westcott, our grant specialist with the Grants and Contract Management team, and as well as Donna Dunlap, who you already have heard from today. So together, we're hoping that we can give you all the information you need and answer as many of the questions that we can get to cover about the request for letters of interest. So just to give a brief overview of what we're going to go over today, we're starting off with welcome introductions and a purpose of the webinar, which is what I'm doing right now. Then we'll pass on to Diane to go over the Section 4 grant program and application process. Then we will share here in the Chicago market some more information about our own programmatic priorities. And we'll wrap up with a few reminders and an overview of important dates before opening up for questions, which we will hopefully have ample time for. So just to reiterate the purpose of this webinar today, our hope is that by the end of the session, you will have a clear understanding of the Section 4 grant program, the request for letter of interest application, and all of its requirements. We also hope that you'll have a clear understanding of the Chicago market specific areas of interest for the request for letters of interest. Now, the purpose of this webinar is to help summarize all the information that's already in the RLOI, and we do strongly encourage that all applicants carefully read the RLOI regardless of participating in today's session. Now, before going into some of the specifics, a little bit more about Enterprise Community Partners for those that aren't familiar. The organization was founded more than 30 years ago with the mission of creating opportunity for low and moderate income people through affordable housing in diverse, thriving communities. In the Chicago office, we're committed to strengthening communities by ensuring that everyone can live in an affordable home connected to good schools, transit, healthcare, and other amenities. We do this through developing capital solutions, policies, and programs. And just to get a sense of some of the impact Enterprise has had as an organization in the more than 30 years of our history, we've created nearly 470,000 homes and invested $28.9 billion to impact millions of lives. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Diane, who's going to give us some more information about the Section 4 program.
Thanks so much, Juan Sebastian. Welcome everyone to the webinar. I'm going to walk through a little bit about the program and the eligibility requirements. So the funding for this grant opportunity is made available through HUD's Section 4 capacity building for community development program. The purpose of the program is to enhance the technical and administrative capabilities of CDCs and CHODOs. And the purpose is to carry out community development and affordable housing activities for the benefit of households of low income, which for this program is defined as 80% average median income or below. So for an overview of the LOI, we have two eligibility requirements that CDCs and CHODOs must meet. The applicants must meet the requirements described in Appendix A of the LOI, so it's very important you look at that area. If you have any questions about if your organization is eligible. So again, the HUD requirement is that you be a CDC or a CHODO organization. And Enterprise, in addition to that, requires that your organization can demonstrate staff capacity. And if you are not, if you don't have that capacity, then you would have the ability to partner with have a relationship with an organization that can act as a fiscal agent or fiscal sponsor. And more information about the description of that relationship can be found in the LOI in the appendix area. So again, if you're unsure of your organization's eligibility, please either view the eligibility requirements tutorial, which can be found on Enterprise's grants webpage, or you can email, and I'll be saying this email address a lot, you can email the grants team at rfp@enterprisecommunity.org for assistance. This is our main informational mailbox for questions of basically any type that's general to the LOI process. Our grants team constantly monitors that mailbox, so we're able to address the questions really promptly and get back to you with answers. So some general information. This opportunity consists of a two-step application process, the LOI phase, which we are in now, which began on May 1st, and the full proposal phase, which will be done as invitation only for those proposals that we deem are able to be advanced to the next level. Applications need to be submitted through Slide Room, which is a new application, online application that we're using this year. And you will need a link to create an account, and you can get that link from our website, from the grants page, and within the LOI document. There is a section, I believe it is Appendix C, that will walk you through how to access Slide Room and create your account. Applicants may submit only one application for either of the two open LOIs. There's this one, which is the national market LOI, and then our second LOI that's also open and active right now is the Rural and Native American LOI. So we're asking that organizations need to choose between one or the other. And if you are an organization that may fall under the Rural Native American designation, you can find that information also on the grants webpage. Applicants may apply under only one program area, and this is the description of the program areas and how to find out more information about it is within the LOI document. And applicants that have active awards or have pending applications with the other Section 4 intermediaries, which there are two, LISC and Habitat for Humanity, you can still apply to our LOI, but you cannot request funding for the same cost. So other general information, as I said before, all information is available on our website on the grants page, and questions can be sent to the RFP mailbox at any time. Applications can be accepted from any location within the United States, but the applicants will apply to either one of the 11 markets that we have here at Enterprise or under the national geography. And the total award that we received that we're going to be dispersing from HUD is a little bit over $7.5 million this year. The anticipated awards are going to range from $25,000 to $100,000, with the average award expected to be about $40,000. If awarded a grant, the period of performance can begin on July 1st and usually has a general duration between a year and 2 years. Typically, though, our grants are usually between 12 and 14-month duration. However, please keep in mind that the period of performance has to be mutually agreed upon by enterprise and the grantee. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Juan Sebastian to go over the Chicago market priorities.
Thanks, Diane. So before beginning with specifics about the program area, we want to review the Chicago market geography. So the Chicago office will be reviewing all applications that fall within the metropolitan region defined as the 7 counties you see on the screen. That includes Cook, DuPage, Kane, Kendall, Lake, McHenry, and Will. In addition to that, the Chicago office also seeks to provide grants within the elevated Chicago priority areas. And so for those who are not familiar with elevated Chicago, it is a 16-member collaborative that works on transit-oriented development to create cultural, environmental, and health hubs around 7 train stations in the city. Elevated Chicago is also a part of a larger effort of a 6-city initiative that are all working on transit-oriented development. Now, within Elevated Chicago, there are 4 priority areas, which include 7 CTA stations, as you can see listed on the screen. And I'm going to show you a map also that hopefully makes this a little clearer. But just to review, there is the 4 areas include the Blue Line Logan Square area, and these are all half-mile radius from the CTA train stations. So the first is the Blue Line Logan Square. The second is the Kedzie Corridor, which consists of Kedzie Green Line and Kedzie Homan Blue Line stations. A third is the California Pink Line, and the fourth is Green Line South priority area, which includes the 51st Street, Garfield Street, and the Cottage Grove and 63rd train stations. Now, just to clarify, we do plan to award grants within these 4 priority areas, but not exclusively only in these 4 priority areas. And so we do highly welcome and encourage applications or LOIs from other areas within the larger Chicago market geography, which is the first 7 counties that I referenced. Great. And so in continuing with this theme of 7s, we are also accepting, or we're considering applications under the following 7 program areas. And I'll be going over each of these in a little bit more detail shortly after. And actually, before I move on, I also want to clarify that the Chicago allocation of Section 4 funding is just over $400,000, and likely more if we're able to leverage it with some of the national initiatives funding. So just to give you all a sense of the pool that we're working with. So to begin, the first program area that we want to go over is building and designing sustainable communities. So Enterprise seeks to increase the capacity of CDCs and CHODOs to implement best practices within the Enterprise Green Communities criteria. These include, but are not limited to, sustainability, which we define as a holistic portfolio-wide approach by CDCs, which might include things like green building plans or resident engagement evaluations that promote environmental sustainability. The second is design process. So these are more projects that invest in pre-development processes that leverage design to improve the quality of affordable housing. A third is active design, which could include strategies that increase frequency and duration of resident physical activity, such as programs that encourage use of stairs, walking, biking, other modes of healthy mobility. And fourth is benchmarking. So this would include assistance for CDCs and CHODOs to measure, manage, and track utility expenditures, and create strategies to address improving portfolio efficiency performance. Grantees who apply under this priority area will also be invited to join the Enterprise Sustainability Exchange Network and share lessons learned and participate in that peer-to-peer learning experience. The second priority area is around resilience planning. And so overall, we seek to support organizations that are responding to the continued threat of natural disasters, particularly urban flooding and heat waves in the Chicago area. Here in the Chicago office, we see the strengthening of social networks in particular as a very important part of disaster recovery. So we do encourage applications that include activities that promote the strengthening of social networks, including those that leverage arts and culture to meet these climate and cultural resiliency goals. The third program area is culture and creativity. So here we're seeking to support initiatives that leverage arts, culture, and creativity to achieve social, economic, environmental, and health outcomes. And again, in the Chicago office, we're specifically prioritizing those projects or activities that can leverage arts and culture to advance sustainability and resiliency goals. The fourth program area that we have is around preservation. So here in Chicago, we're seeking to support organizations that are committed to protecting residents from ongoing displacement and that are seeking to stabilize neighborhoods undergoing gentrification. In particular, we're interested in proposals that include activities such as preservation of existing 2 to 4 unit rental buildings and the preservation of housing in these high-demand gentrifying neighborhoods. And again, I'll just want to iterate that these are all in addition to the activities that you'll find in the national market program, or the national program areas, which is included in attachment A or attachment number 1 in the larger LOI. Our fifth program area is health and housing. And here we're committed to working with organizations that are looking to improve health and service outcomes through housing and community solutions. In the Chicago office, we're specifically seeking proposals that include but are not limited to the following categories. First, health in the built environment, especially as that relates to design. Second is innovative financing. Third is aging in community, and this is more for senior residents and senior homeowners. And fourth is collaborating for healthier communities, so bridging across health, housing, and social services with intentional partnerships. The sixth priority area is organizational sustainability. And so here we're interested in supporting activities that would strengthen the long-term sustainability of our CDC and CHDO or CHODO partners. One note to take into account here is that historically the Chicago market has awarded minimal grants in this area. That said, we really do welcome proposals to consider how they can incorporate organizational sustainability activities within the other within proposals for other program areas. Our last program area or priority area is equitable transit-oriented development, or ETOD. And here we're seeking to build the capacity of organizations to plan and engage in ETOD efforts. We welcome proposals that strengthen connections between low and moderate income communities and transit usage in particular as a means for mobility. And these would include activities that these would include transit-friendly activities or initiatives that seek to promote the use of those transit amenities or stations. Great, so those are the 7 program areas, and we do welcome any clarifying questions that you may have And I also just want to emphasize again a point that Diane made earlier, that each application will only be able to align under one program area, and we do acknowledge that there is likely some overlap across these 7 program areas, and we encourage you to think about which program area your proposed activities or initiative most closely aligns with. As we mentioned, there is our allocation is a little over $400,000, and that does make this a highly competitive opportunity. And those proposals that are able to most clearly identify the intent of the activities and identify how they align with these program areas have the best chances of being successful. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Diane to go over a few more details.
Thank you, Juan Sebastian. So I just want to go over some very important dates that everyone needs to be aware of. First, the submission deadline for this phase, the LOI application, is due May 29th, 11:59 p.m., so 1 minute before midnight. This is an extremely important date and time to remember. You will be submitting your application into the Slide Room online application system. That system will close automatically at that time. So it's really important that you make sure to submit that proposal, preferably hours before, but at least make sure you hit the submit button before that time. We would not want to have anyone miss out on this funding opportunity because they missed the deadline. The notice of invitation to submit the full proposal, again, if deemed to advance, will be on July 9th, so that's around the time when we will be sending out those email invitations. And the submission deadline for the full proposal is August 6th at 11:59. So we have some great resources on our website. The hyperlinks are within this presentation, and oh, by the way, this, as Juan Sebastian said, this presentation will be made available. So all these links will be you can easily go right to the web page from within the presentation. So there's a list of it. The frequently asked questions document you'll probably find very helpful. That is going to be, that's posted now on our web page. The information you see here is toward the bottom of our web page. And the LOI fact list will be updated every Friday through May 24th. However, after that point, we're not going to be able to update it, so please check it out at your leisure. Eligibility requirements. As I said, we have a tutorial, so this will take you to the WebEx recording that you could watch, and also there are associated resources on that page that are PDF documents that you can download and look there. And then the rest you see will also be very, very helpful resources for you. So some reminders. Again, applicants may submit only one proposal. They also need to apply under only one program area, and within the Slide Room application, it'll be very clear as to how to go about doing that. And Enterprise will only consider LOIs from applicants that meet the thresholds that were outlined here, that submit their application via Slide Room, and that their application is submitted by the deadline date. Request to change an application, once it's been submitted, unfortunately will need to be denied. Late submissions, hard copies, and applications that are submitted outside of Slide Room will not be able to be accepted or reviewed. And once again, for general questions, please do not hesitate to email us at rfp@enterprisecommunity.org. And for Chicago market-specific questions, you can definitely feel free to email Juan Sebastian Arias. And with that, we are going to open up the sessions and jump into question and answers. We're going to try to address as many as possible. Donna Dunlap has been triaging, and she has, so I'm going to turn the reins over to her so she can read some questions and we can jump into it.
Thanks, Diane. We also have Enterprise's Sarah Torcell available to answer questions. And Sarah, I'm going to unmute your phone now, so you will be also available to, as I said, respond to any questions which are read out. So Sarah is now joining us by audio.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you. And let's pull up our first question. Apologize while I get my questions lined up. Okay. Gail would like to know, what if your proposal meets multiple priorities like affordable housing preservation and health?
We would recommend in general, this is Rosa Ortiz, that any one of the proposals, as Juan Sebastian mentioned, will likely embrace one or other components, whether that's health, arts and culture, sustainability, or others, into that program. But it is really up to the applicant's decision and judgment to choose the one that it is most aligned with, and choose that one as the one component that they apply under.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, what does real estate capital encompass in type of support? Question 15. Does this include funding for environmental remediation and specific upgrades like bike parking?
So in general, some equipment can be purchased through these funds, but most of the kind of support that we provide for projects is usually pre-development work. So that normally includes architecture fees, engineering fees, third-party consultants, and it does not include construction. We're happy to, follow up with any other specifics for what you're wanting to include in terms of eligible or not. But if you want to use that framework to really assess whether what you're wanting to do does fit or not, just know for sure that construction is likely not going to be one that's most easily available, if not completely illegible or not eligible. And we have purchased bike racks before when they have been identified as equipment. So I can at least share that piece as well. Again, I would likely maybe recommend that you think more pre-development and architecture, engineering fees, or any other sort of research that goes under pre-development.
Great, thank you.
And just to jump in for a moment, this is Diane. If anyone has activities that they're not sure about that might, if they're eligible costs or not, please feel free to contact the RFP mailbox, and the grants team can help evaluate your proposed activities and help you out a little.
Okay. And our next question is, would arts and cultural programming, for example, instruction and therapy, to improve quality of life and cultural cohesion for disabled individuals in low-income housing be eligible?
It seems like it could be an eligible use.
Yes, I agree.
Yep.
Okay. Good news on that one. Next question. For culture and creativity, are there examples of projects that you expect to see and fund in this priority?
Yes, these are definitely one that is an open category for us. Specifically, we have been looking at arts and culture as an opportunity to engage community members and stakeholders, including residents and organizations, around how to really understand resiliency, energy efficiency, and environmental sustainability. So those are the intersections that we've seen to be most productive and really able to advance in various fields. So we encourage, again, really thinking about resiliency, sustainability, and arts and culture as a sort of an opportunity to engage those three sectors. But we're open to other ones and happy to assess different ideas that come up. Great.
Our next question is, you mentioned that a non-CDC or non-CHODO couple partner with an eligible organization for the Section 4 Capacity Building Grant. Has this ever happened before? If so, can you elaborate or provide an example?
And I can take that. This is Diane. I think I understand the question. However, it's not a non-CDC or non-CHODO that can partner. The funding needs to go to a CDC or CHODO. However, one of the enterprise requirements is to demonstrate staff capacity. If that organization doesn't have demonstrated staff capacity, in that event, that's when the organization would partner with a fiscal agent or a fiscal sponsor. So the requirement to be a CDC or CHODO still exists.
Thanks, Dan. Our next question, is it conceivable that economic development or small business development programming might be considered?
So it has to fit within the 7 areas that we have outlined for the Chicago area. If the applicant feels as if those components aligned with any of the 7 program areas, then they can apply under one of the 7 program areas and include specific components that are economic development related.
Okay, great. While we wait for some more questions to come in, just a reminder that this session is being recorded and all participants will be getting both a copy of the slides with links that you can use to get to the various sections of the website, and also the recording, it's a link to the recording itself. So in case you missed any part of it, you can simply go back and review.
So I wanted to elaborate on the question regarding partnerships. There's potentially 2 models. One is where a private company, such as an architecture firm, partners with a community development organization to help advance projects by providing professional services such as architectural design support. And so then it would be still the CDC that applies for the support. It's the CDC that would be responsible for the grant. And again, they would then work with the architect, the engineer, or a third-party consultant to advance the community development organization's goals. That's one place where we've seen that kind of partnership. A second kind of partnership that we've seen is when there are 2 organizations, one of which is not a CDC and has not had the capacity or the resources to actually have to have that designation. And so they can request partnering with another established CDC or CHODO to act as a fiscal agent for them for this grant. And so it would be the more established organization that would then apply and be responsible for the grant and work with perhaps a less established organization to help advance their goals. But it has to be definitely arranged and coordinated on it by the two entities that want to partner with each other to do this work.
Excellent, thank you. Our next question is, since these are capacity building grants, are you looking for projects where the CDC or CHODO hasn't done this particular activity before?
Not necessarily. It could definitely be work that they've been doing and that they want to scale up or that they're wanting to expand. Or it could be new areas of work that they haven't quite had the opportunity to explore or advance. It's really open to both scenarios, expanding existing work and new work as well.
And could you please elaborate on resident services / community engagement? I'm sorry, I just lost my place on my screen. Pardon me. Sorry about that. Let me reread the question. Could you please elaborate on resident services / community engagement as an eligible activity? What does that mean exactly?
I'm not sure if I think we need a little bit more information. It's not one of the program areas, so I'm thinking any one of the program areas that we've identified, all 7 of them, could include and should include some component of resident engagement and community engagement as part of the work that they're wanting to do. Ideally, we see these grants shaping up out of the needs of the community and the residents in particular areas that are then raised by the CDC as opportunities for them to advance, and then these funds helping the CDCs to respond to those community needs identified by community residents. So that's how we see that process. Again, any of the 7 areas that we have prioritized should have a component that is resident engagement or other community engagement component.
Excellent, thank you. And waiting again to see if we can get some more questions in. We've still got plenty of time, so if you've got questions, now's the time. Type them into the Q&A box on the lower right-hand side of your screen. Just checking. And again, just a reminder that the recording and the slides will be going out to everyone who registered for today's session. So even if you aren't here, you will get it if you registered.
And we will also be posting the recording and the slides on our grants webpage. And that'll happen in the next business day or 2.
Great, and we've gotten a couple more in, which is terrific. Specifically for affordable housing preservation, for the Chicago-specific grants, are you looking for organizations whose low-income housing projects that protect current residents from displacement due to gentrification only?
No, we're open to housing preservation in general, but we have identified areas that are seeing displacement both as gentrification and lack of investment as key areas where there is potentially a lot of need for initiatives that help keep residents in affordable housing homes. So that's what we've seen in the field. That's how we have identified these areas. And specifically, we've seen a lot in gentrifying areas. There are areas throughout our city that are seeing different levels of gentrification. And it's really open for all of us to hear ideas about how to keep existing residents in affordable housing homes. So we're open to ideas. Again, we've seen more interest, more demand, more need in areas that are seeing gentrification sort of in place.
Great, thank you. The next question, for the housing preservation program areas, are you willing to fund counseling and education efforts as a form of housing preservation, or only development or construction efforts?
I think we're open, again, to understanding what the needs are based on the community development organizations and the needs that they see from the residents. We're interested in hearing counseling or other methods of training, technical assistance, education for either renters or homeowners that are in affordable housing right now.
Okay. And in reference to that earlier question, can you specify which areas of gentrification specifically?
We don't have any priority areas within the city or within the Chicago metro area specifically identified.
Okay. Is there a way to access a list of previous grantees in the Chicago area and what the projects were?
Diane, do we have that somewhere?
We do have that information. We can send it out as a report with the list of our recent grantees and the general purpose of the grant.
Okay, so that sounds like a yes.
So if that particular person, if you email the RFP mailbox, we can help you with that.
Okay. We've still got a few minutes, and I'm waiting for some more questions to come in. While we do that, Juan, Diane, or Sarah, do you have any final words for our attendees today? Any words of suggestions? Anything that they should know before heading out for this?
Well, I'm just excited. I'm excited about this funding round, and I'm really happy to see so many people on this particular market webinar. So we're really looking forward to receiving applications.
Okay.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
Sure. So I just was going to highlight a couple things more. So first is that, we really do welcome new ideas. We've made an effort to not be prescriptive in our review of our program areas, not be overly prescriptive in the review of program priority areas today. And we are very interested in hearing new or creative proposals or ideas from community groups. And so, that's just an open door to say, please, we welcome that. The second is just, again, to emphasize that we've seen the most success with proposals that can have very clearly articulated outcomes and goals and alignment with these program areas. And so we just encourage you, as you're thinking through your application and as you're going through the LOI process, to maintain that clarity or to seek to provide us that clarity.
Great, thank you. And I'm checking our Q&A box, and I don't see any more questions. So I think we're going to give you all a few minutes of your day back. And thank you very much for participating in today's webinar. And a special thank you to Diane and Sarah and Juan for presenting all this terrific information. And we hope to see you online at another Enterprise webinar very soon. And with that, this ends today's session. Goodbye.